sometimes what they do to make the death quicker, they take, if they had a bunch of guys, they're trying to get a bunch of people, like the Roman Empire, they crucified 2,000 people in one day, I read. It's an insane amount of people. But they didn't want to dig 2,000 holes and build 2,000 crosses. So what they did was they break the legs of the people while they hang out there. They'd let them hang out for a little bit, and they'd come and they'd snap your legs with a hammer, and you wouldn't be able to pull yourself anymore, so you'd die quicker. It'd probably take you 6 minutes or so to die. So just wanted to kind of back you guys up on what crucifixion is. That's what crucifixion is. Now turn to Psalm 22. This was written 8 centuries before Jesus lived. This right here. And again, we know that crucifixion wasn't invented until about 90 years, 100 years before. So this is about 7th century before crucifixion was even invented. Keep that in mind as we read this. And again, I just want to read through a few important things through this. This whole psalm is sick, but I'm going to touch on some stuff that I want you guys to keep in mind as we go into Matthew. Verse 1, my God, why have you forsaken me? In verse 2 it says, oh my God, I cry out day by day, but you do not answer, by night, and am not silent. Verse 7, all who see me mock me, they hurl insults, shaking their heads. He trusts in the Lord, let the Lord rescue him. Let him deliver him, since he delights in him. Verse 13, roaring lions tearing their prey, open their mouths wide against me. I am poured out like water, and all my bones are out of joint. My heart is turned to wax, and has melted away within me. My strength is dried up like a potsherd, and my tongue sticks to the roof of my mouth. You lay me in the dust of death. Dogs have surrounded me, and a band of evil men has encircled me. They have pierced my hands and my feet. I can count all my bones. People stare and gloat over me. They divide my garments among them and cast lots for my clothing. All right, remember that. We'll be going back and forth, so you might want to keep that marked. Turn to Matthew chapter 27. Verse 35 we'll start. When they had crucified him, they divided up his clothes by casting lots, and sitting down, they kept watch over him there. Talking about Jesus. Above his head, they placed the written charge against him. This is Jesus, the King of the Jews. 2 robbers were crucified with him, one on his right and one on his left. Those who passed by hurled insults at him, shaking their heads and saying, you who are going to destroy the temple and build it in 3 days, save yourself. Come down from the cross if you are the Son of God. In the same way, the chief priests, the teachers of the law, and the elders mocked him. He saved others, they said, but he can't save himself. He is the King of Israel. Let him come down from the cross, and we will believe in him. He trusts in God. Let God rescue him now if he wants him. For he said, I am the Son of God. In the same way, the robbers who were crucified with him also heaped insults on him. What do we see there? You go back to writings of David and Psalms, 8 centuries earlier. What do we see? What did we just talk about? Verse 7 of Psalm 22. All who see me mock me. They hurl insults, shaking their heads. Verse 8. He trusts in the Lord. Let the Lord rescue him. And then we see right here the religious leaders and the Pharisees saying, he trusts in God. In verse 43, he trusts in God. Let God rescue him. The whole time heaping insults on him. It says they cast lots for my clothing. In Psalm 22, like we just read. And right here, verse 35, when they crucify him, they divide up his clothes by casting lots. It's just pretty rad. Like hundreds of years prior, before crucifixion was even invented. And what is crucifixion? Like we just talked about, they pierce the hands and your feet to the cross, through your wrists and your feet. And again, 700 years before crucifixion was even invented, it says right here, verse 16, they have pierced my hands and my feet. This is completely prophetic. This is David prophesying. God was speaking through him. And this is funny how this is all just in first person too. This is prophesying to the coming Messiah, Christ, of what would happen to him, as we see here, being fulfilled. Let's go on to the death of Jesus. Verse 45. From the 6th hour until the 9th hour, darkness had come over all the land. About the 9th hour, Jesus cried out in a loud voice, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani? I don't know how to pronounce that, sorry. Which means, my God, why have you forsaken me? I just want to stop right there. Again, remember what was said in Psalms. First verse of Psalm 22, my God, why have you forsaken me? So Jesus, hanging on the cross, refers back to this, I think, because we know that Jesus and God are one and the same, therefore God cannot forsake Jesus. And some people say, well, the weight of sin, when all of the world's sin was put on Jesus, right then God just couldn't bear to look and he turned away. That's not true. Jesus, the cross was a plan since the very beginning. That's why Christ came. God couldn't help but look. He sees everything. He didn't turn away. He didn't forsake Jesus on the cross. But he cries out right here, my God, why have you forsaken me? He says that to show that he's referring to Psalms. He's referring to that prophecy about himself.